All right, well, we're going to look at the side view first. Four-step approach is fine. We're not going to be changing that. And there is more good than bad in your game. So that's a good starting point. And it'll be kind of easy to work on these things and clean your game up a little bit. You want to think of this more of just a tune-up. It's not going to be like an overhaul.
Okay.
Okay? You're not ready for the salvage yard. Okay? So timing-wise, you're not going to be way off on timing. One of the main things we're going to work on a little bit is the push weight. I think it's a little bit big. And then from the back view, we'll see the direction, which is causing a lot of the issues. Okay. So let's go into the motion here. Finish position is not bad. We can definitely clean that up a little bit. A lot of it has to do with what the back leg is doing at the foul line. Okay. So let's go into the stance. The only thing I would change in the stance with you, I would just move this elbow back a hair, get it a little bit more under your shoulder, get the ball a little bit closer to you.
Okay.
Sometimes when you hold that ball further away, it's creating more tension. It's also not good on the low back as we get older.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's compare to really good timing with a great loose swing, one of the freest ever actually. Let's use something like a David Ozio for you here. So his elbow's just back a little bit more. Basically body position is about the same, no big deal. I think the distance of your approach is fine. So I would just move that arm back a little bit.
Okay.
As far as the wrist cup, if you like that, keep it. We definitely don't want to keep it cupped in the swing. We'll see what happens. It likely won't be cupped in the swing. On the first step, he will have the arm and foot move together. We do not want you to lock out in the push away. And notice at the extension of the push, he's not locked. Okay, but the ball started coming down that little bit on step one, so it's out and down a couple inches. Let's see with you. So pretty close. Not too bad. Might be reaching out a little bit more than he is. You see how the body came over a little bit more. Yep. And when the elbow starts more forward, it's easier to go out further. Okay, but pretty close on that. His ball will come down on step two. It will not go out anymore. It will fall into the swing and get toward the back of the leg at the end of that step. Your ball goes out that little bit more. See how you're kind of locking out forward? And see how the left hand came off the ball? If you keep the left hand with the ball through the push weight, you can't lock out. The angle won't allow that. Okay? So we'll kind of work on helping control that push weight with the left hand. So in the stance, you want some of the weight in the left hand. You can actually help push with the left. So the right arm has that kind of sensation of just going along for the ride. Okay? When it goes out more on step two, it takes longer to come back. Okay, so you see how one step ago they were almost the same position, and now there's about a ball difference.
Yeah.
Okay. On the next step, he will be at the top of the backswing. And your next step, not quite to the top of the backswing, right about there. So when you're a little bit on the later side, when that ball's not quite in position on step two, there are three ways to catch up. One way is slow big steps. I don't really see that with you, so we can kind of rule that one out. And none of these are conscious choices, by the way. The other two common ways are pull your swing around and keep your backswing long. Well, look what we see here, lower backswing. Okay. At the finish, we want to see the slide foot come to a stop as the ball gets to it. So foot will stop, ball come through, perfect position there at the foul line. With you. Foot just about stops, okay, as the ball comes through, and not too bad. One thing we're going to work on is the back leg and back foot position. If you think of a face of a clock with the slide foot being at 12 and right behind it being at 6, we want this back leg to go to about 7:30. Okay, that's part of a counterbalance for the weight swinging. It also helps clear that leg out of the way of the swing. So notice your toes are pointing to the right, his toes are pointing to the left. If the toes stay pointing right, it's hard to have the leg go left. Everything is attached. Okay.
Yeah.
So I like the fact you're keeping the back foot down. That's good and that's very important. So that's a good thing. But we want the toes to flip over and point left. We want to end up on the outside of the foot, not the inside of the foot. If the toes stay pointing right, the leg stays more behind you. So it's more like you're almost ending up on like a balance beam. That sounds hard. Okay. So we can have foot down, toes point left. And you can kind of see that in this picture. It's really just about the back foot position. The rest of the body position will kind of take care of itself.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to clean that up a little bit. To you, it might feel like about a 3/4 push instead of a full push, so you don't lock out, and you can help with that left hand. The good thing is you are doing the same every time, which is good. Okay.
It's not consistent, sort of, somewhere.
Yeah. And really, I don't care what motion I see. I want it repeated. It's a big issue for me if I see something different every shot, because then we don't even know what to work on.
Yeah.
Okay. And like I said, timing-wise, you're off by a hair. Not the most important thing. Okay, so really not too bad. If we look at another shot from the side view, here we'll see the finishing position a little bit better. Okay. So this one here, you can see you had to step off to the right after you threw it. If the leg went over to the left better, that would have been more of a counterbalance. But again, we see the toes stay pointing right, that back leg stays right behind you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to work on toes left. Okay. All right, now go to the back view stuff. And here's where we're going to do some work. Yes, you wrap your swing behind you. Okay. But that is a result, not a problem.
Okay.
Okay. Every action has a reaction. Your setup is nice. Okay. The ball, we don't see much of the ball. It's going to be just a hair inside the shoulder with the center of the ball. That's perfect. Okay. I'm going to compare you to one of the pros here. So same thing, same basic setup. Okay. When he gets into his push away, that ball stays in line with the shoulder as he pushes. Okay. You push really far to the right.
Anytime I videotape myself, that's what I thought too. Like, I feel like I just.
Throw it out to the right, and that's exactly what's happening. If I get your ball coming right down below the waist, look where it is. When his ball comes down below the waist, look where it is.
Wow.
Okay? Every action has a reaction. If the push way goes to the right, well, the backswing will start coming left. Okay? If the push way is straight, the backswing is straight. So you know how only when you bowl badly, you get lots of free advice, Elaine's. Okay? And most of it's not really advice, it's a free observation. You say, hey, you're wrapping your swing. Nobody's saying you're wrapping your swing because you're pushing to the right.
Yeah.
So it's not free advice, it's a free observation of what you're doing wrong with no advice on how to fix it.
Yeah. I've heard that plenty of times.
Okay? So muscle memory is very, very strong. And you push really far to the right. You're pushing the whole ball right of your shoulder.
I never realized I threw it out that bad.
Yep. Now, to your muscles, that feels straight.
Yeah, because that's what I tell people. In my mind,
Correct.
I see my arm
Okay.
straight as an arrow.
Muscles can lie to you. A video or a mirror can't. Okay? So at home with a mirror, you can do this two ways. Side view, you'll see the setup, and you'll see the distance of your push. Just one step and stop is all you have to do. Elbow at the front of the side, not quite locked. Ball waist or belt level. And then mirror to the front, one step and stop. Once you start with the ball in line with the shoulder, you want to keep it there in the push away. Okay? Now, for you to push straight, you're going to feel like you're pushing a good 10 inches left. And what's hard when you work on this is, and we're going to work on it today, you're going to do a push and say, that was great. You're thinking, really? That felt terrible. Your muscles don't like to feel something different.
Yeah.
So when you try to change something, they're going to tell you, okay, that was too far left, when it wasn't, because they don't want to change anything. That's why you need a visual to work on this. Okay? If we straighten out the push way, no doubt the backswing will get straighter. Okay? If we look at footwork, what we want to see with this right step, you usually want that step to come in slightly, and what that does, that clears a slot for the ball to swing under the shoulder. Your first step goes fairly straight. So you can work on having that step come in about 2 boards. And then there would be room for the ball to swing under your shoulder. Okay? Now, I don't think this is the bigger factor in the push. I think you're just pushing way right because you're in no danger of hitting your leg.
Yeah. I have hit my leg before, but you can
Okay.
see, like, I pushed it so far right, I tore
Exactly.
my body over because...
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. The rest of the steps are pretty good, so there's no big issue with the rest. Okay, but once the ball's there, well, you better do something or it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, and luckily your body is smart, so you're going to get the knee out of the way. Okay,
Same time.
and end up where you need to end up. But here again, we see that back foot position, whereas his back foot, the toes will start going left. The leg just goes right over to 730. Okay, if there's, and it's not about throwing the leg over. It's about the toes point left. If the toes point left, this leg would go right over to about here. Okay, and that will get you much more stability, balance, and leverage at the foul line. Okay, so we're going to work on that push motion. And in real-time motion, you really see you're just kind of throwing it out to the right.
Yeah, it's like I'm just totally the whole way.
Correct. And then the more lateral motion there is in the swing, the harder to duplicate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like you're a bad bowler. That push right direction is causing you to bowl badly. There's a big difference in those two statements.
Yeah.
Okay. If we go to hand motion and release, let's see a close up here. Now you're going to see how much you're pushing to the right. So see how we see that little sliver of the ball?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we should see throughout their push away.
It's big.
You're pushing toward these sensors. I know that wasn't your target. So you want to feel like you always push right in line with that shoulder. Okay. Now hand position wise, you're really quite a bit on the inside of the ball. Is that intentional or is that just happening?
I'd say it's probably intentional, thinking that that's what I need to get more reps and stuff back
Okay.
when I was really trying to, I got to keep my wrist strong and make sure I get good fingers out of the ball and everything.
Right. And that's kind of really on the inside. That might lessen when the push rate doesn't go as far to the right. When the push rate goes right, that's pretty common to be on the inside like that. Okay. And you have to be a little bit careful with trying to overdo it. If I just start with my hand palm up, which is kind of neutral, and I relax, nothing happens. If I try to go like way on the inside and then I actually relax, it snaps back past where it could have been. So when you try to be way on the inside, it can actually cause more early turn. Okay. At the release point, there is some early turn there. That's before the thumb comes out, so you're around to the side early. Muscle does promote early turn.
Yeah.
So from the top of the swing down, you have to relax and let it swing through, not make it swing through. The more you pull, the more muscle, the more inconsistent you're going to be. Muscle's hard to repeat, gravity is not.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, if that ball's up in the backswing and you don't pull it down, it will not ever stop in the air behind you. If it does, we have a bigger issue than bowling badly. If I compare to one of the pros again here for release, and these guys are very good at this, just nice and stable. Just hand on the back side of the ball, not way on the inside. And it just doesn't move. So the release point, he's still on the back side of the ball. Okay? So then the fingers will go from the center through to the right half of the ball as the thumb comes out. So one more little click there. So right there, the thumb is out of the ball. His fingers are now in the right half. They moved about an inch and a half to the right. It's not about lifting. It's not about hitting. We want rotation, not lift. Lift has an up connotation to it. Now when you get around the side of the ball with the thumb in, now when your thumb is going to come out, the fingers have nowhere else to go. So they don't go anywhere. When you come off the side of the ball, the revolutions you get tend to be less effective, less powerful down lane, so you're going to hit the pocket but leave more corner pins than other bowlers. Okay? And the only upside to that is you become a really good spare shooter because you get more practice at it. That's a pretty crappy upside. Okay? So we'll see what happens. The release is usually the last thing to worry about because it's the last thing that happens.
Yeah.
Okay? Everything else is a factor. So if you think of your approach as all little pieces, if one of the beginning pieces is off, it's not realistic to expect the ending piece to be consistently on.
Yeah.
Now occasionally, yes, you'll catch up perfectly. Occasionally you won't. So we're going to work on, and what you wrote about the backswing wrapping behind your back, I agree that's an issue, but it's really a result of the push away.
Yeah.
So we clean up that push rate. A lot of the things you thought were issues, I think may clean themselves up.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
It seems like that's a problem, but it's because of
Correct.
the way I'm pushing out.
Exactly
It's
right.
just, I never knew, like, because I threw that, that's why I'm wrapping around, or-
Exactly, and that could be affecting hand position. I mean, when there's a lot of lateral motion, that requires muscle. Okay.
And I've always been muscle pusher.
Yep.
Sure.
So we always want you to feel like the ball swings your arm, not your arm swinging the ball. Yeah, the pros look so smooth and fluid; they stay behind the ball so well because they're not using a lot of muscle. It's a lot more about the lower body, upper body. Even though you're swinging with your arm, it's not involved that much muscle-wise. Okay, like a lot of other swinging sports. Another good example is like baseball or softball or bat. The bad hitters stand there and swing really hard with their arms, but the rest of the body doesn't move. The good hitters, it's a
It's a full body, like, step.
right. The step, the torque, the arms just follow. Even though you're swinging with the bat, it's really about the low body to create the swing momentum. Same thing in bowling. Okay. Same thing in golf. When you watch smooth golfers, they don't look like they're working hard, but they have lots of power. The bad golfers look like they're working hard and they don't have lots of power. Okay, so it's in all these swinging sports, it's about timing, leverage, and balance, not muscle or power.
Otherwise, everybody would just be so bulked up and.
Exactly, you're right. Yep. So for the release, you can kind of think about it, keep that palm facing your target as you release. That can negate some early turn. I would work on the other things first and see what happens with the release,
Yeah.
because I do think other things are affecting
I
it.
think I've made it everything worse because I tried focusing on, like, my release has to be like this, or it
Right.
has to be,
Yep. Exactly. Like I said, rev rate is one of the least important stats. Okay. All right. Everything makes sense that we talked about. Okay. Good. Let's stop the disc here for now. We're going to get up in the approach and work on this stuff. Then we're going to refilm you so you can see it. So take.